Hey everyone, welcome to this week's episode of Show Me How It's Done. My name is Laura Narbonis and I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator here in Canada. So this week I want to show you a really beautiful card using the Happiness Abounds suite. And I know I've used this a lot back in the spring, but summer is quickly drawing to a close here. I feel like this is going to be one of the last few weeks that we have of warm weather. So I had to sneak this one in before the snow flies, and you know, it's probably a little bit out of place. So I have had so much fun playing with this bundle. If you go back to some of my previous videos in the springtime, you'll see lots of other ideas that you can use this bundle for as well. But it is in our annual catalog, so it'll be good till next spring. The stamp set is a really beautiful kind of set of line drawings that you can either color in, or you could watercolor, or even just stamp straight on your paper. And then there's a great assortment of sentiments. But the thing that we're going to highlight, for this project is some of the dies and the designer series paper. So as you can see on the project on my left here, there's actually no stamping whatsoever on this one, which is very unique for us. I guess in the end you could probably stamp a sentiment on the inside of the card. But what we're doing today is simply playing with some of these dies, these large dies, and cutting out images from the Stampin' Up! Designer Series paper. So there's all sorts of patterns in here, but you'll find some 12 by 12 sheets with sets, there we go, like this guy, that you can actually take the dies and pile them on top of and cut all sorts of shapes out. Okay, so these are just a few, but this page in its 12 by 12 form actually has all of the patterns that you'd need. Some of them you can only do one at a time. Like I couldn't run those two together through the Big Shot, but I just want to show you how they look. There's another one. So you can see you can play with all of these dies and cut out all of those images. So for today's project, what I'm actually doing is cutting out two of the large flowers in any color you want, and then one of the small flowers. So there's a couple different shapes and sizes of this, but again, whichever one you want, and two leaves, one of each pattern. So this page can be done however you'd like. It's completely up to you, but you're gonna look for the coordinating kind of color palette. So this one I'm using the blues and the teals and the pinks. There is also one that would have the other shades, such as the reds, yellows, pinks. Okay, so you can cut your flowers out from this one and then look for one of these really detailed pieces and use this side of it. Okay, these ones are a little trickier. A couple of the flowers would coordinate with the dies, but most don't. So that's why I'm actually using this paper as my background sheet, and then this 12 by 12 full of all the different images like that as my flowers. Okay, so let me move this stuff and let me show you how we're going to assemble it. It's a very simple card after you've kind of picked out your papers and after you've cut out whatever shapes and flowers that you want for the project. Okay, so I'm gonna leave that up there just for your imaginations to go wild. And then I'll just give you the little measurements for the rest of this card. Okay, so you're going to want a card base. And I thought white was the perfect medium for you to use here, okay? So a white card base, we're cutting this paper at 4 1/4 by 11 and scoring in the middle at 5 1/2, so that I've got a nice card that kind of just opens and shuts from the top. Now I'm gonna work on the middle of my card, or the inside first, and just decorate that a bit. So because I'm using the blues and the purple palette, I've decided I want navy to be my offset color. So that's what I'm using for my strips and the inside of the card. If you've chosen to go with the pinks and the yellows, maybe choose Melon Mambo, or I guess even So Saffron. One of those would be a really nice offset for you to use for the yellow and pinkish set. Okay, so my Night of Navy is going to be 4 inches by 5 1/4. And we're going to attach that with some sort of flat adhesive. So I have my double-sided tape here. You can use your seal or you can use glue even, but we're putting this nicely on the inside of the card. I know the card is white already and it's easy to just write on that, but I thought, hey, let's get a little fancier and make this a very special card for someone. So put that on the inside. And then because we've done this, we also need a piece of white to write on because it's very challenging to write on navy. So we're going to cut a piece of basic white. This is going to be 3 3/4 by 5. And that will go on top of the navy, giving you just a really elegant inside look. And like I said, you could always grab one of those sentiments and put it on the inside of your card instead of the outside. So this can be a birthday card, a wedding card, a thinking of you card, whatever you need. Just put a sentiment inside when you're ready to go. I would suggest using Native Navy ink because that would tie in really nicely with our color scheme. And again, maybe Melon Mambo if you're going with the other set. So I'm happy with that. I'm not going to stamp the inside of this card because I actually want to have a few of these lying around for me to just make into whatever I need at some point, because I always find I build up one set of cards and then I find myself short with another occasion. So I kind of keep some blank ones on hand too. Anyways, for the front of your card, we're going to start with our designer series paper. And this pattern was that very busy sheet with all the different flowers and their leaves kind of together. It's not the one that looks like this, which has the flowers individually spaced. You can use the dies to go around them. So this piece I have cut at 3 1/2 by 5 1/4. And of course, if you wanted to use the back side of it, it would be beautiful too. So that's kind of where I got the navy theme also, because it really ties this together. But I'm using the front, and I'm going to put this to the left-hand side of my project, just using some flat adhesive once again. Now you might be wondering how I come up with some of these random measurements, and I'm going to be honest, I used this bundle for my spring all-day retreat, and I try to use every part of my package of paper. So I kind of start with the big ones that I know we're going to use large chunks of paper and you know that I need to have one for every card. And then from there I play with my scraps. And so this just happened to be the measurement of one of my scrap pieces off of the side of the sheets that I was using for a project. And I thought, hey, I can't let that go to waste, but it's not large enough to fill in a full-size card. So I could have either cut my card down like this and made just a nice skinny card, or this is a really good way for you to use some of those cut-off scraps. So I had lots of navy ones. These are 1/4 inch wide, and then I just cut them to 5 1/4 long. And we're just going to use them to fill in this space. So they're very skinny. They won't actually fit your double-sided tape. So you can use glue on them, or if you do have the 1/8 of an inch roll from somewhere else, you can use that too. Okay. So these are just going in this tiny little space, kind of gapping a little bit of white and then a little bit of color. And you can do this with any sort of scrap you have. Maybe you've got a 3 inch wide piece of paper. You could just cut yourself a couple more of these strips and maybe put some on the other side too. But don't be afraid to use your scraps because they can make beautiful projects. Okay, so that's the basis for this card. And then I knew I had to start decorating. So I am absolutely in love with the Stylish Shapes dies. This has a beautiful stitching on the outside here, and I used the largest of those circles in combination with our brick and mortar 3D embossing folder. So I just cut this out, the circle out on white with our Stylish Shapes circles, ran it through with my embossing folder, and I've got a really great base. So this base I'm going to pop up on dimensionals, And then we're going to put our flowers on top of it in a really fun way. Okay, nice amount of support there. While I'm doing this, hello to those of you who are watching. Thanks for popping in and commenting. And if you're watching the replay, hello. Glad that you could find me. All right, there we go. Here is my circle. So now I'm ready to start building, and you can see, you barely see any of this embossed look, but it does add a little bit of texture. So it's up to you. If you have the embossing folder, do it, because I do think it is really pretty. If you don't have it, don't stress, okay? So as I mentioned earlier, I have cut myself out 2 large flowers, and I just happened to pick, you know, ones that showed up in the background coloring. And then of course this little light fresh fuchsia flower does fit in with that theme as well. So that's my small flower. And then I've got 2 little leaves. So as long as you've got something similar to this, then you can start building up your shapes. So I'm going to suggest you start with your 2 large flowers. You can turn those over and put dimensionals on the back of them. And we're going to use those as our focal point for the project. This flower and the leaves can kind of be built around them, but you can't do much if these flowers aren't centralized. Okay. So I've got 2 of my flowers here, and I'm going to put them on at the same time, just in a little overlapping manner that kind of covers the center of my card. Okay, so I'm not going right in the center. I'm going kind of up to the left a little bit so that I've got space for my small flower to sit still. But those 2 now, they both rest mostly on the circle, and they're hanging off a bit, and I've got a bit more space down here in the bottom to put my little circle, or my little flower, sorry. Up here we'll put a leaf, and that will be fine. Okay, so now it's the small flower's turn. Because you don't have a lot of space, I would suggest just putting your dimensionals straight onto the white circle, and that will ensure that this small flower is on the same level as the 2 before it. Okay, so however you'd like to put that on, will just fit snugly into place there. And now your last 2 things, if you have mini glue dots, this is going to be the easiest way to attach these. We don't actually need these dimensionalized. We just want to take your little flower and a glue dot. So I always put it just on the back of the stem here. And if you pull up, then you'll have a dot of glue on the back, so that when I tuck it in, don't have any adhesive on the part that's sticking out of the card, like this part here, because then that would kind of stick to the white and stick to the blue, and it's kind of a mess. Same for this guy. Stick the mini glue dot down on the stem, pull up. That means there's no adhesive in the back of this leaf, just on the stem, and tuck it in. And there you go. Easy peasy. It's a great card for you to do any sort of scrap work with. If you got a bunch of these strips left over, or if you just cut your papers down, I really think it's a nice set. So you can use as many or as few of the flowers above as you want, but you get a ton out of those sheets. And then you can make a bunch of these cards just to use for all occasions. Okay, before I let you go, I do want to highlight one announcement for you, and that is the fact that this upcoming Saturday, so October 1st, is World Card Making Day. So this is the year 2022 if you're watching this way later. But October 1st, 2022 is World Card Making Day, and Stampin' Up! For the first time ever is running a free virtual event. So they're not giving you product for free. Like I know many of you, when you see demonstrators sign up for events, they get prize patrols, they get make and takes and stuff like that. What they're offering you is free tutorials. So with the following 3 bundles, if you own any of them, and you can always order them later and complete the projects whenever, but if you want to join in live on October 1st, you can go to my website, it's listed at the bottom, and click on events. There will be a registration link so that Stampin' Up! Can email you papers that you need to cut, just some card bases. And then I have no idea what the event will look like because they've never done this before. But the 3 bundles, the Cottage Rose, the Cottage Wreaths, and a new bundle, it's an early release called Warm Welcome. These 3 bundles will be featured on projects throughout the day. So my assumption is they will have different presenters who show you how to make projects with this bundle. Somebody else will show you how to make projects with this one, and so on throughout the day. So you can either modify cards if you don't own the bundle they're showing, but you have something similar, or you can copy it directly if you own them. But if you own any of or order any of these bundles before October 1st, you'll also get a free set of iridescent basic pearls. So if you want any of these bundles quickly, I'm going to put in an expedited order today, and that usually arrives within 2 to 3 days. So if you want any of those, let me know. I'm here in Edmonton and you can do local pickup, or you can also order yourself online. And it might get here by Saturday, or it might be a few days later, but you can still participate that way, or you can just watch the tutorials and enjoy. They'll be available on replay for quite a few months, so you can watch them anytime too. So go to my website, sign up. If you're having trouble finding anything, just reach out and I will send you the link directly. It has no affiliation with me. I don't get anything from you signing up for it, and neither does Stampin' Up! It's a free event for you to join, and you're just getting tutorials. But I wanted to remind you about it. I did mention it earlier in the month, but we've only got a few days left. So put that day aside, and if you don't have these bundles, if you don't want to do that, maybe just make a card for World Card Making Day and have fun with it. But I will see you guys next Tuesday for our weekly edition of Show Me How It's Done. I will show you the cards that I've made with these bundles because I'm planning to participate in that event. So I'll be able to show them to you and also get you the links to tutorials for those as well. But I look forward to seeing what you guys come up with, and see you guys next week. Bye.